This is CTG's 10 Mutator Gauntlet. Player 1, playing Zeratul. We have Stickspender. And player 2, playing Kerrigan. We have JYK. We have a huge number of mutators. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Let's have a look at the masteries while the players are going to get started in this absolutely frantic game. We have 30 points into Zeratul attack speed, 30 points into artifact spawn, 30 points into Legion cost with the Knowledge Seeker Prestige, which is pretty much the optimal selections here for Zeratul in terms of mastery allocations. The Knowledge Seeker Prestige basically implies that Zeratul wants to play the long game. They want to be able to scale up throughout the course of the mission. This one is a perfect prestige to make that happen. Kerrigan has 30 points into Kerrigan attack damage, 30 points into Vespene cost reduction, and 30 points into primary ability improvement with the Folly of Man prestige. So this is actually a very interesting decision here. Usually for solo Kerrigan builds where you're relying on the hero unit a lot, you usually go for the mobilization wave mastery, but that is not what has been selected. You can see already we have a probe moving around here, and the reason why there's a probe moving around here is because we have a mutator that is kind of necessary to actually move your probe around the map. So let us go through this mutator list. We have Moment of Silence, which is whenever a heroic unit dies, it will stun, or it won't stun, but it will prevent your units from attacking or using abilities. We have We Move Unseen, which is all the enemy units are cloaked. Short-Sighted, which reduces the range of everything, your vision range. Alien Incubation, and we also have Walking Infested, which will spawn units from Amon's units' corpses when you kill them. We have Outbreak, which means Amon structures from around the map will also spawn units. We have Magnificent, which are Magmines are deployed around the field. Evasive Maneuvers, which will cause enemy units to jump around the map. And we have Aggressive Deployment, which causes attack waves to be spawned randomly on top of your army. And finally, we have Barrier, which provides enemy units a very temporary shield. Now, you might notice that this mutator set seems very familiar, and if you have watched CTG or my stream, we collaborated with each other to do a little special mutator gauntlet which CTG had set up. I believe there is a video of the entire playthrough on CTG's YouTube channel. We lasted, I think, about 7 mutators before we ended up losing, because I was not allowed to play Stetman, which is something I wanted to do, but I was lagging really badly because of the Stet lag. But he's Kerrigan out here and being able to handle that. But I think we lasted something like 6 or 7 mutators, but a few of the viewers thought that it would be fun to try and see if they could actually go through and complete this. And we have Stickspender here, who has been able to complete this mutation with a 10 mutator gauntlet, with a 10 mutator set, and these ones were basically selected random. 10 random mutators were selected over the course of the games. You can watch CTG's channel if you want to see what the format of that gauntlet was. And we have Kerrigan and Zeratul here already ready to deal with this. We have some static defense, and the static defense will be able to hold temporarily. And you can see Zeratul is also setting up some more static defense over here as well. And this is one of the tricky things about this mutator set, is because enemy units spawn units all around when you kill them, sometimes you may actually not see the random infested unit that spawns or the random broodling, and these things will end up aggroing your base, and if you do that, there's a very high chance that these things will start attacking you. So it's always useful to set up some static defense inside your base to be able to handle that. Now, the thing that makes this mutator set so difficult to handle is that A, they're cloaked, but the other thing you also have is that you have the barrier and the evasive maneuvers buffs that are being applied to Amon's units. And this also applies to the broodlings, and it also applies to the infested units that are around the map. So it's very difficult to be able to clear these units out, usually in the way that you would normally use. You'd use Kerrigan's Slide Move to try and clear these units, but these units are so much tankier right now with this, and you can see Kerrigan's Folly of Man Prestige not doing too bad, able to handle some of these units over here. Zeratul moving around and getting aggroed by some of these Magmines as well. Everything is cloaked, which makes this very difficult and very dangerous to handle. If you're not paying attention, you could end up losing your entire base, or your entire hero unit here on your entire army if you have an army out. Both these commanders are going to start off with a hero solo, and I think the hero solo way is a really good way to go. Now, the one thing that I actually found that was really difficult to handle was the Outbreak mutator, but when it was combined with Short-Sighted, it got even more nasty. I found that, just a lack of vision. You can see here Zeratul's vision is pretty much non-existent. it makes it very difficult to start pushing into enemy bases and seeing what everything is. And having these things all cloaked is not a very pleasant experience. We have Zeratul over here that is slowly starting to push into this enemy base. He unfortunately does not have detection, so he will need to get some detection to be able to deal with some of this. One of the good things as well about Kerrigan is if all you have man prestige, does not matter if the thing is cloaked. You can see Kerrigan slowly poking away over here with attacking her nice one to build up her fury stacks, which is one of the things that you can actually do in this game when you're playing against such mutators. What you can actually do with this prestige is that you can build up your fury stacks with Kerrigan by attacking your Omega Worms, and then what you do is you use your Sly move and you expend these fury stacks, and you do not need detection for the units to get hit by the lightning. So it is very nice to have as a way of dealing with cloaked units when you would not actually be able to detect them. But we have plenty of Omega Worms over here. This Omega Worms will be providing Kerrigan with a little bit of healing, and you can see Kerrigan starting to get overwhelmed. So we have the Avatar of Essence that gets dropped. Zeratul already picked up his third Artifact Fragment, so all is good for Zeratul, and we're going to be able to help Kerrigan as well clear out some of these things. The Fury doing so much damage to these infested units, but again, see how tanky these units are. And now we have another attack wave, or another harass wave, and a spawn near the bonus objective as well. And again, this harvesting bot is going to be taking a little bit of damage, but Kerrigan jumps into the fray here. Again, one more devolution wave from the Avatar of Essence, and we only have now some drones that are left over, and overall seems to be pretty well handled. We have one random infested. This is what the problem is. This is exactly the thing that wrecked me on one of the games. I lost my, I think I might have lost my expansion because of this. Because Short Sight is active, the Spine Crawlers don't have the detection range to hit these little infested Terrans here. So these infested Terrans actually end up taking more damage than you would normally want. So this is actually a very creative strategy. Just make sure that you have some kind of detection on the high ground and just have some kind of detection so you can actually take out, or some kind of vision so you can actually take these units out with a Spine Crawler. So I think what will probably end up happening is there may be an Overseer that will be parked somewhere here in the Overwatch mode, or is it Overwatch mode, or whatever it is, or maybe even an Observer, just to provide some kind of detection to some kind of vision range for these Spine Crawlers. For all, Kerrigan not having any problems handling this. Zeratul is going to go, I believe, to pick up his next Artifact Fragment, and now he is at 4 Artifact Fragments. What's that? The Co-op Observer interface shows you multiple Artifact Fragments? Indeed it does. Funnily enough, I made this change when the patch came out for Zeratul's Prestige, but unfortunately there were no Rock-Stopping Champions featuring a multiple artifact Zeratul, so this thing I don't think ever appeared. At least I don't think it did. But yes, the Observer interface is able to handle this pretty well. And it looks like these commanders are not going to be handling the Outbreak Mutator by clearing the map. Now, one of the strategies I employed throughout the run that I did is when I was playing Stetman, as I was pushing into the enemy bases and we were all clearing the map all the time. And if you're able to all clear the map, it does mean that you do not have to deal with the Outbreak Mutator, and you're taking off one mutator from the set, and you'd be actually surprised by how much simpler the mission can become when you're not getting constantly harassed by infested Terrans and whatnot. And remember that the Outbreak Mutator temporarily is very easy to handle. You have, the Marines are a little bit annoying, but it's something you cannot handle. But at about 20 minutes into the game, aberrations will start to spawn, and that is usually when you end up losing the game, because the aberrations they're tanky, they deal a lot of damage, and they spawn in very large numbers. So Outbreak does cause a problem, and my strategy, the strategy that I employed, was to just try and all clear the map. It does not look like these players will be all clearing this mission. Kerrigan actually doing really well with a Folly of Man Prestige here, and just completely wiping out everything. We now have a Telbrus Legion that gets used by Zeratul here to try and stall some of these attack waves as well. Over here we have an aggressive deployment drop that has spawned on top of Kerrigan's army here, so this is going to be a little bit of a problem. We have an Ultralisk that has been used to try and deal with this attack wave. I think this Ultralisk might be fine. This one will be going down, unfortunately, for that Ultralisk, but I think this will be able to be handled without too many problems. We have 5 drone saturation. I think this might have been a little bit of a misclick at Stalker, just aggroing that Extractor, completely ignoring the Ultralisk there, and does take out that Extractor right here. There is a Slugfest right on the top here. We have some Dark Templars by Zeratul, and these Dark Templars, because these commanders are dealing with the ground composition, these Dark Templars blinks are going to be really good value. And now we have another attack wave that has spawned on the right next to the Omega Worm, actually. Kerrigan is able to handle that without any problems here. Ultralisk is going to finally chop down that one Stalker, clear out the rest of these units here, and I think they will be okay. There is also a little bit of some healing on these Ultralisk, and they actually are able to deal with this thing without any problems. 2 Mega Worms over here, and overall seems to be okay. Kerrigan a little bit short on the minerals from the mineral income here for Kerrigan on the mineral line, but it doesn't look like Kerrigan is really using a lot of her minerals anyway, so it's not really too big of a deal. Zeratul is sitting now at 5 artifact fragments, which is actually really good for Zeratul. Like, he's pretty much on the ball with picking up his artifact fragments, and that is one of the most important things. Zeratul's artifact fragments are directly tied to his power level in the game. If Zeratul slacks off on the artifact fragments, he's falling behind, especially on a mission like Missed Opportunities, where your mission lasts 25-30 minutes. You can pick up many artifact fragments, and you can really help Zeratul scale his army throughout the course of the game, especially when you have really dangerous mutators like Aggressive Deployment, when you have things like Barrier. It's just extra value for Zeratul, especially with his Blink as well. We now have an attack with the Hespon. Avatar of Essence comes down here to try and devolve some of these units that we have also in the mobilization wave and in the assimilation ore, and Kerrigan has to be a little bit careful. The moment of silence debuff has caused a bit of a problem for Kerrigan, because Kerrigan is not able to utilize her abilities as much as she would have liked. The hybrids, when they die, remember the moment of silence is enabled, and that causes these units to be unable to attack and unable to use their abilities. So Kerrigan pretty much ends up getting stunned here without really being able to do anything. And again, Kerrigan gonna get stunned for one final time as the last hybrid goes down, and now these commanders actually have to start pushing into this next enemy base here. And this is going to be, again, a little bit more tricky. There's another hybrid here. They have to be a little bit careful with that. Hybrid dies. The Teleporous Legion are, I think, they're going to end up despawning anyway, so it's not really too big of a deal for these for Zeratul. And Kerrigan is just going to be jumping in here and deleting pretty much everything that is here as well. This enemy camp will end up falling, but just see the difference in how tanky this enemy camp is. The barrier is causing a problem. The evasive maneuvers is causing maybe a little bit of a problem for Zeratul. Not really much of an issue for Kerrigan, because her lightning abilities are able to go through anyway, and they are hit scan, but just having the barrier with the alien incubation and the walking infested, and then those units have the barrier, it just provides so much of an HP pool for these commanders. Zeratul is going to go and pick up his next artifact fragment right now, and he's going to be doing that anytime soon, and he's now up at the 7 artifact fragment count. So he's at level 7 upgrades right now. Kerrigan does get stunned by this hybrid, and she'll have to wait before she pushes into this next side. And over here, these harvesting bots have already started to take a little bit of damage, but we have some more Mega Worms that get used, and Zeratul's drops are also being... Zeratul's army is going to be used as Dark Templars to try and just stall this attack wave, and Kerrigan is on the northern side, and she's going to start clearing out these units over here. Again, some more infested are like aggroing Kerrigan, but I think all in all seems to be okay. These harvesting bots, there's a little bit of damage here from the harvesting bots, but this is pretty much okay for these commanders. And Kerrigan is having her own battle over here, just dealing with just a constant slew of infested. And now there is a harass wave that has started. There are a couple of harass waves over here. One harass wave just gets cleared up. There's another one coming in from the northern side. Kerrigan already ready to intercept this harass wave, and this area has not been cleared out yet, and this is going to be a huge problem for these commanders, because there are actually a lot of units here, and there is a hybrid. So Zeratul now has started to use his Tesseract cannons, but unfortunately one of these harvesting bots goes down because there was a Magmine over there as well. So one harvesting bot has died so far. Now these commanders have to try and rush and try and make sure that they're able to keep these 2 bots alive, because this is going to be a complete slugfest here. Another harass wave coming in from the northern side, and Zeratul's cannons are not going to be able to hold against this harass wave. There are a lot of adepts and a lot of stalkers here, and there are some Dark Templars as well in the mix here. These Tesseract Monoliths are going to end up going down. Kerrigan jumps into the fray, and her Fury stacks are just being expended on these units and doing a lot of damage here for Kerrigan. By the way, this is the Zeratul damage dealt by the hero unit, and this is the Kerrigan damage dealt by the hero unit. So you can see Kerrigan so far has dealt 74,000 damage to Amon's unit. So you can just see like the damage output that Kerrigan is capable of, as long as you're using your Fury stacks as effectively as you can. Kerrigan going to be jumping in. Unfortunately, those Fury stacks have been expended before that, and now she's able to jump in and do again a little bit more damage. Avatar of Essence gets dropped again, and that devolve is going to be a little bit useful for Kerrigan to help her clearing out this harass wave. And these few harvesting bots are making their way back towards Stetman's lab, and now the attack wave has spawned again. Kerrigan's Fury Stacks are going to be expended over here, and we have this Avatar of Essence that is again going to be jumping in here. Kerrigan has jumped in, uses the Assimilation Aura, and getting some value out of her Fury Stacks as well. Marked herself near this little corner here, using very nice idea, using this terrain to keep her alive and keeping away from some of the high damage output units that are available from the attack wave. And pretty much all is done right here, and these two harvesting bots are going to make it safe. There is one of the harvesting bots has died, so there we go. This is the aberrations I was talking about earlier. These are the aberrations from the Outbreak Mutator, and this is where things are going to get a little bit tricky. So what do we have in terms of defenses here? We have a ton of def here for Zeratul, so Zeratul will be able to handle this without any issues. Over here, we have 4 Omega Worms that... okay, so we have some Ultralisks here. So I think Kerrigan wants to try and use the Ultralisks to deal with the aberrations, but these Ultralisks are not going to last very long. They do have the chitin, they have the borrowed charge. They do not have the chitinous plating upgrade, which is... I guess... oh, I don't know if that is, like, recommended. I'm actually not sure. I would personally go for the chitinous plating upgrade, but... actually, this might be the chitinous upgrade. This might be the chitinous plating upgrade. Yeah, I'm not actually sure, like... it's interesting, yeah, because these things don't have the chitinous plating upgrade, which might make them a little bit more tanky against these units. And now we have another aggressive deployment drop that has been used by Amon on top of this Ultralisk wave. This Ultralisk should be okay. They should be able to handle the units, but now we have aberrations jumping into the fray here. Kerrigan is actually on the back foot, and I think will require a little bit of assistance from our ally, because these Ultralisks are not going to be able to hold against the onslaught of aberrations. You can see just so many aberrations coming up. There's another aggressive deployment drop here, and these Dark Templars are just going to go and swipe away at the Omega Worms, and these Omega Worms are going to be ruining Kerrigan's mobility. So Kerrigan will have to try and clear this out as much as possible. And you just see observers all over this place here. These aberrations are making just a way through. There's also an infested medic. I think this unit is not very commonly seen, but this is an infested medic. It also spawns from the Outbreak Mutator. So yeah, there are medics, and these things will actually heal. So they can get very, very annoying here. These Ultralisks I don't think are going to be able to hold forever against the onslaught of aberrations, because these aberrations deal so much damage here. And Kerrigan is somewhat ineffective at handling this. I think Lurkers may be a little bit better, because they have the little, like, linear kind of damage that they're able to deal, especially if you put them on the high ground. They can probably cut through several aberrations at the same time, but it is very tricky to be able to handle this. And now we have a double harass wave that is coming up to try and take out these bots, and these bots are already kind of damaged. This one is a little bit, this one's sitting about 800 HP, and we have some storms coming out. Tailburst Legion gets used here. All these bots are sitting, well, 2 of these bots are sitting in the yellow again. Their shields do not come up as frequently as you would like, so these commanders will have to try and deal with these things as much as possible. These Ultralisks are basically just stalling the aggressive deployment drops, which again might be somewhat problematic. These aberrations are somewhat confused as to what to do, and now we have a devolution wave here. And this devolution wave does help. It does reduce the aberrations to maybe a Hydralisk and some Corruptors, which is, I guess, okay. Maybe Mulelisk somewhere as well in the mix here. And now there is another Magmine here, and unfortunately this Magmine does take out all of Zeratul's cannons. This bot is sitting at 500 HP, and this thing is going to get really, really hectic. There's another harass wave, well, actually one random adept here. The players will have to try and keep these bots alive, and there are going to be several harass waves here. There's one right on top of Kerrigan. Kerrigan's able to handle this. There is another harass wave, I think, that has spawned, but they seem to be interested more in taking out these Omega Worms, which is okay. Kerrigan is able to handle the northern side without any issues. Over here, Zeratul and his army of Dark Templars will be able to clear this out. The air units are not really an issue for these commanders, because the air units cannot actually hit the harvesting bots. And now we have another wave that is coming up here. Tailburst Legion gets redirected towards this and to try and engage this. I do not know if the Tailburst Legion will be able to handle this, but the whole goal is to just make sure the harvesting bot escapes. And that is what the Tailburst Legion have done. Even though there are lots of sentry force fields here, the goal the Teleport's Legion has pretty much done its job, and these aberrations are just chilling over here. Why are these aberrations are actually not attacking the Harvesting Bot right now? They are just chilling over here, not really doing anything. Alcohol is also on here, they are able to hold, and now we have another attack wave here, and who is gonna go and deal with this? Zeratul has his army already ready, sitting at 10 artifact fragments right now. These Void Templars have an insane amount of damage, 120 damage from the artifact fragments that have been picked up by Zeratul. And over here now, we have an immobilization wave, and this immobilization wave will stun this attack wave, and it'll be just enough. But there's one last Harvesting Bot over here. This Harvesting Bot might take a battering if any of these players' commanders die. So they have to be very careful. If Kerrigan dies here, this attack wave will instantly turn its attention towards the Harvesting Bot and kill it. So they have to make sure they do not end up losing any of their hero units here. The Harvesting Bot now finally escapes. Zeratul's Dark Templars have partially been stunned by the moment the Silence Mutator. Kerrigan jumping in. And now there are some Phoenixes, not really a big concern for these commanders, and now we have finally another Teleport's Legion. Teleport's Legion will be able to jump in, cast some storms on top of Amon's army. Over here, this Harvesting Bot, it has survived with a little bit less than 50% HP, and yeah, just aberrations here. Aberrations are not really much of a concern anymore. The Harvesting Bot only has to survive, and that Phoenix is not gonna do it. And those are all the Harvesting Bots saved, except for one that died on the 4th attack wave. But that is the 10 meteor challenge done, and that is GG.